Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter, and I'm going to show you how to make this really fun bracelet using a rainbow loom or fun loom or whatever loom you have. To begin, if you have the rainbow loom, make sure that you have the arrow pointing away from you, so that little arrow down there. Any other loom, just make sure, you know, you've got these little C-shaped pegs, just make sure the C is facing away from you. Here I am, hello, there's away from me, okay? That's all you gotta know. I'm going to use the rainbow loom because I can work a little bit faster on it. So the first thing you're going to do, and you can use any colors you like, I like red, white, and blue for this project. I'm going to start by putting a loop on this first peg and stretching it over to the second. And then, so we started on the point, and notice how I have my loom arranged so it's offset, okay? If you have the rainbow loom, you can pull these little pieces out and you can make them all line up, or you can make them offset. You can connect them end to end or side to side. Most of the looms will do that, but you want to make sure that it is staggered like that, okay? Your middle point is towards you a little bit more. Now you just want to go down the side with the blue bands and just keep overlapping, and you want to work until you get to the end. In fact, I think I will zoom in a little bit. Hopefully you can see me well. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit there. Okay, so I'm right here. Make sure you don't skip one. If you find that you have missed one when you are at the end of your design, then you will want to take it back and you'll want to re-loop it, because if you're out of sequence or you miss one, then your bracelet's going to come apart, and that's not going to be very fun. Oh, you don't want to go right to the end there. You want to actually, whoop. There, you want to go there. So here's the last peg that I have a loop on, and I'm just bringing it over to the middle there. Now I'm going to go to the beginning of my loop again, loom again, and I'm going to start with a red on that first peg, and I'm going to do the exact same thing all the way down the loom. Again, use whatever colors you like. I've got Patriots and Red Sox fans in my house, so I'm going to do red, white, and blue. So probably a lot of you received these looms, or maybe you bought them for your grandkids or your children. I always forget that kids watch my videos too, so I guess this one is probably a little bit more for the kids than for the adults, but oh gosh, it's fun. I think I've had more fun playing with my kids' looms than they have. So here I get to the end. There's one more peg there because I have it staggered, so we're not going to use those. I'm going to go right over. So this is what we have so far. Okay? Now we're going to go down the middle with white, and we're just going to go straight. We're going to start that first peg, and we're going to go straight down the middle with the white. And I'm turning my loom so that you can see it a little bit better. You can do it however you want. Just make sure that you're starting on the end that the little C's are facing away from you, okay? Otherwise, you'll just be flinging off rubber bands when you go to loop them, and that's not going to really be that helpful. You'll just be, oh, it could be fun, I guess. You're flinging rubber bands all over the place. And these are actually made of silicone, so if you have a latex allergy, they shouldn't bother you. They're latex-free in most cases. I've used the brands from the craft store. These are the fun. I'm actually using the fun loops on the rainbow loom. They're all interchangeable, except for the ones at the dollar store, which are bigger. I would avoid those. All right, so we got to do one more thing to lock our design down. And what we're going to do is we're going to start on that second loop there, and we're going to pull a band over all 4 pegs, and it's going to kind of make like a diamond. Okay, you're going to do this all the way down. It kind of makes a pretty design. Now I have fun. Now I was just fooling around with the loom when I came up with this pattern. I think that you could probably put these loops on however you want, as long as you start at the end where the C's are facing away from you, or well, I guess they look like U's. Yeah, so they look like U's. That makes more sense. And I think you could put them on in any fashion as long as you put them in order, so that you're starting at this end with them looking like U's. And you work that way, and then when you go to hook it, you turn it around. But you'll understand that in a second when I turn it around. I'm going kind of slow because I want to make sure that you understand. If you have any questions, leave a comment, but honestly, it really doesn't make sense until you do it. So that would be my advice, is just to try it first before you decide that it's not for you. Now on this first, I'm now going to turn it around. There we go. I remember I can turn it around. Let me just zoom up for a second so you can see. I'm turning this around, so now I've got the user upside down the way I'm looking at them. They're facing me. I've got the little channel right facing me. Hello, here's me, here's my loom. There are the places the hooks go. Now I'm going to take one more white one, gonna loop it around, and I'm going to put it right on the end there for a little cap. Okay. So now you want to use the hook that came with your loom. This actually went with a different loom. So I'm going to use my rainbow loom hook. I think the rainbow loom's a little bit easier to use, but you know, use whatever you have. They all work about the same. And now what I'm going to do, and I'll zoom in again so that you can see what I'm doing. Whoops, wrong way. Here we go. All right, that's really close. Let's zoom back a little bit. I'm going to put my hook right down that channel, okay? So my hook is behind all those loops. Now I'm going to grab the loop on the bottom, which is red, okay, with my hook, and pull it up in between. So just by doing this, I'm actually locking in all of those loops. Now I'm going to pull this out and around and slide it on the red. All right? Now I'm going to go down this channel. I'm going to, again, put my hook in there. I'm going to grab that bottom red loop. I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to bring it over the next loop in my loom. All right, again, I'm turning it a little bit because I want you to be able to see a little bit more of the loom as we're working. Again, I'm going under all those other loops and pulling it in. So every time you lift this up, you're locking down the elastics that are above, or rubber bands that are above. And you want to go along and do this the entire row. I'm gonna show you this entire row, and then I will pause it as I do the other ones, just because that's kind of redundant. If you need to pause as we're working, go ahead, pause, and you know, follow along. That's a great way to learn. Sometimes it's easier if you know, than going by the instructions in the package, because the instructions just showed you the basic one that I showed you in the previous video. Didn't really show you any of the more elaborate ones. So now that we're at the end here, I'm going to grab that last red band, and I'm going to bring it over to that point. Okay, and then we're just going to let that hang out there for a while. We're not going to think about that or worry about that for a while. Okay, so now we're going to go to our blue side. We're going to go down the middle, and we're going to pick up that blue band. It's kind of hiding behind that white one. I'm going to make sure we get that good. All right, and we are going to lift that, and I like to kind of put my fingernail there just to make sure that none of those other guys decide to take a little adventure on me while I'm doing this. And then we're going to go over that onto that first blue peg. And we're going to reach in there. We're going to grab that bottom blue one. Just make sure you grab the one on the bottom. It can be a little confusing on that first one that you do. Get out of there. Alright. And then we're going to do exactly like we did on the red side. We're going to pick up that bottom loop, and we're going to bring it up over the next peg. So continue in that fashion until you get to the end. Alright, I'm going to pause it so that the video isn't like a gazillion hours long. Alright, here we are at the end of the blue row. We're going to take that last blue band and bring it up to that point so it can hang out with the red one for a while. Okay, so for the white one, we're going to do this exact same thing. It only gets a little tricky at the beginning here because you can see looks like a big jumble of white. So you want to reach down there and you want to get the bottom white loop, which can be a little tricky. So tip it up if you need to, like I am here. Or spread, like pull it down with your finger so that you can get that bottom loop here. There we go. I've tried to separate it from the pack. All right, there we go. I've kind of pulled it apart there. You just want to make sure you always are getting the bottom loop, and even if it takes you a couple minutes to get it, make sure you get that bottom loop. Now after that, it's kind of easy to see, but you do have 2 white loops here on each one of these, so you do have to be careful and make sure that you are getting that bottom loop each time. All right, so you know, take your time. This is fun. Sometimes I turn my hook the other way and it's a little bit easier, but I'm going to go in this fashion. You know, sometimes if I push that top loop out of the way with my hook and grab it like that, so if I go in my top loop and I get out of my way, pick up that bottom one, pull it up over the next one, I find that to be a little bit easier. So finish up with this white loop and bring it all the way to that final point. We're going to bring it all, we're going to go on each one until we get over that red and blue one that we were just doing. So I'm going to pause it, you keep on working, and I'll see you back at the end. And here we are at the end. I'm just going to grab that last loop and bring it up, and there we have that. All right, so we are doing pretty well. Now at this stage I want to this isn't going to be quite long enough to go all the way around my wrist. If you see, we've got this band here, but look, I had to do kind of an extension chain there to make it long enough. And you can put this on a loom and do that, but I think it's so much easier if you just if you just kind of crochet a little edging, a little extension on. So I'm going to pull a, whoops, I just pulled out all the way through. I'm just going to pull a loop up through, stick your hook up to the side, grab a new loop and yank her up right through there, and put that right on your hook. And I'm actually just going to pull, I'll pull a couple through right now just so I have a little space. And then I'll decide how many I need after I've kind of pulled it off the loom and I can see how long it is. And that's why, another reason I like doing this with the crochet hook, because you have that flexibility and you can really see it as opposed to doing a single one on the loom. The loom is great for bigger projects, but I think for just a single chain, as I mentioned in my beginner video, it's better just to do it like this. So I'm going to slide this up a little bit so it's not going to fall off on me. And this is the exciting part. This is where you pull your design off the loom, and it's a little scary because if you missed one then it will all fall apart, but hopefully if you took my advice and you took your time, you didn't miss any loops. And here we go. Look at this. It's very exciting. Look at that. It's cool. Isn't it so nice when you get to see your work all, you know, working? So it doesn't matter how you put the looms on, as long as you go in the direction like I mentioned, with the arrow facing away from you or the little C's facing away from you, and then you turn it around to lift them off. You'll know if you don't, because you'll be sending rubber bands all over the room flying. So you know, just have fun with it. All right, we're just about to the end here. And what I'm going to do when I grab that last one, I'm actually, before I even take that right off, I'm actually going to grab one of these C-clamps. Or C-hooks, what are C-clasps? I don't know, what do you call those things? Everything looks like a C or a U, doesn't it? I'm actually going to just pop that through. Let me see, I want to do this so you can see it pretty well. I'm going to just take the opening, there's like a little split on there where it's open. I'm just going to pop that down through. Look at that. Now no worries, that's not going anywhere. Alright, we'll finish pulling that off the loom. There we go. Look at that. Now I just need to make this long enough to go around my wrist comfortably. So what I'm going to do is just chain a few more of these lovely patriotic colors. You can't go wrong with red, white, and blue. You can always wear it on the 4th of July or to support your favorite sporting team. Well, maybe not your favorite, but our favorite here in good old Maine. We like our Patriots and our Red Sox. Not everyone, I guess. I don't want to generalize, but most of us do. There's some weirdos out there that like the Yankees. I say like I'm a sports nut. I don't even know what's going on when I look at the sports, so yeah, I don't take anything I say seriously. Okay, so if that's long enough, there you just go as long as you need to. Then what you want to do is grab those ends. I like to put 2 fingers in there. It's a little bit easier. And I haven't had a problem with any of these snapping, knock on wood. And then you're just going to put it in the little opening of your C-hook, the same one that you have the other end of the bracelet on, just like that. And there you have a little bracelet. Now if it's not long enough, pull off that C-clamp and crochet a few more on. That's all there is to it. I want to thank you so much for watching today. I will be next up with this bracelet video. And if you have any questions, leave a comment. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any other videos. I want to thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.